Hello again, Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, back for more Malifaux and the Oxfordian Mages. Tanned Skin 09044. So these characters were first introduced into the game in Tony Ironside's box set, but now in 3rd edition they have the academic keyword and Ironside's does not, so she's getting a reworked box now. But these are exactly what they sound like, wizards who study a method at the University of Oxford. But the Oxfordian method isn't really guild sanctioned. They tolerate it, but to a certain extent, and this is because they prefer a different method and, totalitarianism. The Arcanists have managed to import several Oxfordian mages to Malifaux, regardless, and each one of them is getting a different skin tone, so that's what I'm starting with. Golden Skin 09092. But outside of the different skin tones and 2 different hair colors, there's going to be an identical color scheme on them, and I am getting a strong Batman vibe from these characters because of the flowing capes. So the game still acknowledges that Ironsides came in to Malifaux with a group of Oxfordian mages, even though she does not have keywords with them and would have to spend extra soul stones from a crew's budget to include them. But they do share with keywords with Sandeep Virsai, or no, Sandeep. I'm kind of blanking on his full name right now. Fairskin 09047. Sandeep is a master I don't have yet. I will get him eventually, though. But, okay. So yeah, given that 2 out of 3 have flames on them, there are going to be lighting effects. Let's get the hands here. Okay. Gonna go back to this one. See if I can get a little more focus here. Gonna play nice? I guess not. Well, it kind of works there. Okay. I'm gonna make him a blonde, so blonde hair 09257. And they're getting a fairly simple color scheme. And I'm hearing bad movements coming from the machine. And that's because the system's cracking up, so alright. I'm gonna stop here and try to come back and see if I can fix this. Alright, let's try this again. 09257 blonde hair. Once again, the more technology allegedly advances, the more things are turning out like that Mel Brooks movie Spaceballs. Let's see, I want to make sure I get just the hair here. Okay. And Shield Brown 09161. Want to make her a brunette. This bottle's about empty. I do have a spare on hand, but I don't need a whole lot because it's just a little tuft coming out from under her hood. And there we go. And to give that a chance to dry, work on the third one. And Chaotic Red to kind of, again, make them, well, yeah, to kind of make them match with Ironsides, because that's who they came with, even though they're not sharing keywords anymore. But I also got a strong impression of red and blue that was coming up on them, so good with dark blue on the cape. Now his forearms are wreathed in arcane fire, so I'm going to kind of skip over those, and I'll be done with the lighting effect as I close in on completion. The mask will be done to match as well. And belts and boots will be picked out later after this dries, once I get to the coat or cape. Oh boy, I'm losing track of what I'm saying. I'm in trouble. The day has barely begun, and already my mind has snapped like a dry and brittle twig. Only a decent coverage, and I'm guessing some of the hand is going to get covered up by the flame as well, which is fine. That's how it's sculpted. All right. Gonna apply that to the other two. Let's dry it up. I can get the next layer of coat, or set of base coats. All right, for brown. Yeah, I can't do anything about that rack in the background. My neighbors are cranking their stereo. Getting boots. Let's see, where's it? About there. And the belts, let's see here, yeah. Belts with all this assorted arcane bric-a-brac. These I see as just, well, you know what? We'll do this, but I see those as pockets on the pants, so I'm not going to touch them, not with the brown anyway. Keeping my brush moist and refreshing the paint as needed. Okay, that's pretty good, so... Oh wait, no. There's a... suspenders. Alright. Apply that to the rest, and then I can move on to rest. Alright. Next, which one is it? 09116 Brilliant Blue. The leather's still drying, but I can do the cloaks now. Yeah, there's a word for people like my neighbors who blast their stereo that loud. Deaf. Okay. I get a vibe reminiscent of Batman from these models, and a lot of it has to do with these ample, flowing cloaks. The overall intimidation factor. But you be careful here on the seams where the tunic and pants end and the cloak begins. I don't think any of these models are particularly problematic in assembly, though, so. Just want a nice, thorough coat of paint. Going all the way down to the very bottom. Refreshing as necessary. Maybe I picked the most difficult just because of how the cloak is largely enveloped by the base, or largely envelops the base. Okay, that's got one. I'll apply to the rest, and when it dries, I can do the last base coat and go from there. Okay, needed to give this some time to set. Oh, come on, focus, please. Oh boy. Kinda. So uniform gray is gonna be the last base coat, but I wanted to do this model specifically. This brown here that came off, that was caused when a bead of water that was on the handle of my brush got onto the tip while I was painting and flushed the color down. So it's something to be mindful of, that this can happen if you're not paying enough attention. So something to bear in mind, and I'm just going to get this over the base. This is just a quick bit of stonework. Quick bit of hand sculpting. A little bit of sculpting putty just in the hollow of the base with a quick pattern carved in. Keeping the brush moist but not overly wet. I think I like this sculpt the best just because that gout of flame is damn cool. Okay, I'm going to let that dry completely, apply to the rest, dry completely, and when I come back I can start shading. Alright, time to shade. Ritterlich Blue 09115. I don't know where that blue on the base came from. That might have been just my brush, little flick from one of my brushes. But it's okay, that'll come out when I shade the base. So thinning this into a wash with 1 part water to 1 part paint. With particularly dark colors, you'll need 2 to 3 parts water, 1 part paint, but just going over the blue here, letting it pool in the recessed areas. And just working from the highest area to the lowest. Now I need to exercise a little bit of caution here because I don't want this to completely flood over the model. Just want it on the blue and nowhere else. Now for highlighting, I'll only do the most readily visible areas, but for shading, I want to try to get every nook and cranny I can. Okay, and it's these more dramatic poses with the capes that bring Batman to mind. Okay, apply that to the rest, and then I should be able to shade the leather brown as well. So, back in a minute. Alright. Ruddy Leather 09109. This is something of a gamble. There's not as much on this sculpt. And part of what's going in the leather is really close between his hands there. You can just barely make it out from this angle. It's one of those details where I'm just going to have to say I know it's there, even if it's not that visible. So just belt on the inside. I've already thinned out with 1:1 ratio of water to paint. The boots are the big one here. Now, the concept art on this sculpt has a burst of magic in between the hands, but there was no part on the model to represent that. Okay, apply to the rest, and when that completely dries, I can move on. This will focus a little bit for me. So, move on when this dries. Okay. Red Brick 09001. Just focus a bit, try to get this to focus. Get the mask and the cloth. I'm just going to do one arm at a time. One section of the body at a time, I guess. Now, because the arms are, again, surrounded by arcane fire, I will color those separately as a lighting effect, along with any other flame I can find. Get the tunic here. I'm being careful around these, what I think are scrolls, or possibly secret coded instructions. I don't know. I assume scrolls because these are mages, so. Okay. Apply that to the other two, and when it's dry, I can move on. Okay. Woodstain Brown 09160. Just need a little dot to shade her hair with. Blond Shadow 09256. Oh boy. And 181 frames dropped in the blink of an eye. Rats. Alright, let's see if this will play nice real quick here. Not really. Okay, we'll just try again in a minute. Alright. If this plays nice this time, Blond Shadow 09256. Once again, because this will never cease to be funny, the more technology advances, oh boy, it's happening again already. The more technology advances, the more it ends up like that Mel Brooks movie, Spaceballs. And unfortunately, in modern society, we are so used to being stuck with half-finished products that we just take it. But 20 years ago, if we got something a product that was half-assed and ineffective, we'd be getting our money back. Now, going over this one, Tanned Skin, where is it? No, Tanned Shadow 09043. Oh boy, 10 frames dropped already. Now, the other two, I'm going to have to wait for their hair to dry, but I can do their lighting effects independently of the skin tone. His, I can't because they're engulfing his forearms. I'd like his hands at least partially shaded. So, 09043, Tanned Shadow again. Thin that out. And forehead and fists. Now, once this all dries, I'll go ahead and prep the lighting effects with a matte white off camera to save some time here. And back in a bit. Oh boy. Come on, focus. There we are. So, back in a bit. Alright. This isn't going to work out quite like I had thought, so we'll just adapt. Fair Shadow 09046. Just bit on the forehead and the hands. And I forgot to shade prep the goggles for lighting effects. So, Golden Skin or Golden Shadow, where is it? 09091. So, we'll go ahead and get this, and then prep some more lighting effects with matte white off camera while all this dries up. And then when I come back, I should be able to get all of this lit up and then go from there. Careful on those forehead and hands. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna need to. This is gonna take a little longer than I thought, so back in a bit. Alright. I've changed my mind again how I'm gonna go about doing this. So Stormy Gray 09088, I can go ahead and shade the base now, and then we'll just gonna do this last, but we'll do the lighting effects first, and we'll, with a little luck, well, not so much luck as we'll see if what I'm thinking of actually works out as well in the real world as it does in my head. So, this, sometimes your plans are going to change at the last minute, and that's kind of what's happening right now, right here. So, and I realize I just said that backwards, the way it's usually stated, but it's okay. We're just going to do this, and while this is drying, I've got my lighting effects prepped. We'll do that and move on from there. So, back in a bit again. Alright, some of the gray isn't completely dry yet, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. 09016 Sapphire Blue. And for lighting, you want to thin with 2 to 3 parts water to 1 part paint. And we'll just see what we end up getting here. Let's start by just getting the goggles. Just a careful dip in there. I'm just going to do all 3 of them real quick here. You know what? I feel like doing all the lighting effects at once on camera, so we'll go for it. Go over the blazing arms here. The key is for some of that light to end up showing through. And here, I went ahead and just did the inside of the hands. And lit up a little around the base. This is one where it's going to be interesting. We'll see what that looks like when it dries, and we'll go back to our flame, but I am going to use a bigger brush for this, since it's a much larger surface area. I really like this long column of flame quite a bit, actually. It's just really neat. Keep my brush nice and wet during this. I was thinking I have to highlight, but I might not need to. We'll just see what it looks like once it dries, and I'll make a final decision then. Okay. Alright, let that dry up, and move on to highlight and detail when it does. Uh-oh. Off in frames. Okay, wrapping those up just in time then, so back in a minute. Alright, this has finally dried. It took several hours for the lighting to dry because of the low heat and higher humidity today, so time to highlight. Blond highlight 09258. I'm just going to do them all on camera here real quick. This won't take too terribly long. Uh-oh. Ragged feathered brush. Something along the lines of that. Straight paint, no water. Rubbing most of it out on a paper towel and dusting the area to be affected. Going against the ridges to help catch the pigment. There we go. And Driftwood Brown 09162. Although when I think about it, I probably should have started with the skin tone. all. It'll be okay. It'll be alright. Fair highlight 09048. I won't need too much of any of these skin highlights in general just because there's so little showing. I need to make sure I'm using my tiniest brushes though. A little bit on the forehead there, and most of it's going to go on her hands. Going against the fingers and knuckles. And golden highlight 09093. I'm going to worry about the most readily visible surfaces only, so the glow in his hands will be untouched. I first have to dig up a brush that'll be suitable. There's one. Just a little right there. And then just going against the fingers there. Tanned highlight 09045. I really can't tell if the focus issue is better or worse right this minute. Just a little bit on the forehead and just going across the knuckles. I do not want to hit the flame, period. And vampire red. This one's running really thin. I hope I have enough to... Alright, there we go. Had enough. Probably got an excessive amount out, but that's fine. Focusing on what's readily visible only, so... I have a bit too much right in there, but you know what, it's fine. It's okay. Refreshing the paint as needed. I'm refreshing it in part directly from my palette. Or not the palette, the paper towel. This one is pretty subtle, so the highlights won't stand out as much. Just a bit. Clean that out. Burnt orange 09111. Oh boy. Okay, we're good. It was dropping frames for a second. So 09111 burnt orange, we're in good shape. Let's just keep at it. Just need the right brush for the job. less of that than I thought. And I'll do a little in the belt buckle, but mostly the boots. He doesn't have a whole lot of the brown on him in general, and a good chunk of it is kind of obscured by his hands. The mighty fire puncher here has quite a bit showing. Yeah, I'm calling him that. I seem to have a bit, an excessive amount of pain in here for this, but I'm just going to roll with it. It'll be okay. Next, 09117 Cyan Blue. I'm just going to worry about the top of the cloaks, not the undersides. And this is plugged up, so paper clip down the nozzle. Annoying, but relatively easy fix as well. This one's subtle too, but it does stand out a bit more than the red. And this one. That's nice right there. You got the darkest in the recesses, the brightest on the edges, and a middle value everywhere else. Going against the ridges, catching the paint. And that looks good right there. Last one. He seems to be meditating, but just keep in mind there are many kung fu movies where one guy spends most of a fight doing absolutely nothing, then out of a sudden decides he's bored and just beats the living tar out of everybody else on camera. Okay. Misty Gray 09090. Well, this might be the last hurrah for this one. And if it is, well, I've got a spare bottle on hand. I even have a second, actually, now that you think about it, but... Okay. And here I deliberately wanted the lighting coming out from under the cloak. So I let it overextend quite a bit around. That's good enough for that one. I want the focus on the model, not the base. This is more of the custom sculpting I've done. Just a quick bit of sculpting putty down there and some patterns applied to it. Alright, now pure black 09037. And And I'm going to switch to a flathead brush. Using just enough water to thin the paint, keeping my brush moist but not overly wet. Just going to line it. Just clean it up like this. Flatheads are very useful for doing wider or larger surface areas quickly. Just about there. The thing about highlighting is there's so little water in it, well, effectively none, that your paint's going to dry very fast. Okay, apply that to the other two, and there's going to be one final step, so just about there. Alright, just focus a bit, that's all dry now, so matte white. I'm going to number the bases now. By applying this number onto the reference card, I can quickly and easily tell which model is which, because not all models are going to sync up to their card illustration, especially if you're using older models. So just a quick Roman numeral, the order I like them best. 1, 2, a little wider, there we go, and 3. And there we go. The Oxfordian Mages from Malifaux. Starting a new box set, but continuing with Malifaux. So, until next time, I am Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, signing out.